going on, everyone, and welcome to episode 112 of Superdeformed Gamescast. As always, I am one of your hosts, John, aka at Mr. Negative on Twitter. We've already got people filing into chat. How's everybody doing tonight, boys?
Doing good.
I feel like the video's a little choppy. Is the video coming up a little choppy for anybody on the stream? Anybody watching? Is it a little choppy, or is it just me?
It has been like that the past couple times I've noticed. I'm not sure what's up with our OBS, but
I don't understand what's happening. But anyway, you know what?
I have found the cooler our guest, the worse our technical difficulties are.
That is entirely possible.
It was inevitable.
Yeah.
So speaking of guests, we have a very cool guest tonight. Guy I've been trying to get on the show for a long time. Reed Albers, who is with the ESA, or the Electronic Software Association for anybody.
Entertainment Software
Entertainment, sorry.
Entertainment. You're not the first and not the last to call it the electronic.
I was going to say that for people who don't understand acronyms, but apparently I don't fucking understand them either. So
it's all right. It's okay, man.
So, Reed, dude, it's really awesome having you on, man. Thanks for agreeing to come on and shame yourself with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just a quick introduction for people watching who don't quite know who I am. I'm Reed Albers. I work with the Entertainment Software Association. I'm senior manager of digital media there, and new media, so that means social media, the E3 accounts, which you're probably most familiar with, the ESA accounts, and a lot of the video and photo and graphic work that you see from ESA comes out of my office and my coworker Melanie's office, who's kind of my co-pilot on the E3 account. So I get to be 50% less funny because she can carry the load for me now at E3. So I'm really excited about that this year. So thanks for having me, guys.
Well, and I'll have to have Finn and Jay and Zach say hello in person, because just as a reminder for everybody, this is the first year that SDGC will be represented at E3. So we are really looking forward to that as well. Now, real quick, there seems to be a video problem that we're having on the stream.
Sounds about right.
It looks so. It looks like this is weird.
My internet. I'm scared.
So like Reed's image on the stream is like really big, and then you can see me, but everybody else is cut off.
My guess, John, is that it's just that
Reed is too much man. He's too much man for this podcast. That's probably what it is. It's been like this for like.
It could be my internet, even though I have a hard wire straight in. I'm not using Wi-Fi, so I apologize.
No,
you're fine.
Okay.
People didn't come.
The audio is, people just come for these great voices, John. So
precisely.
Yeah, the video has been like this for like a month now.
Yeah.
They come for our nice audio and radio voices, like you were saying.
Reed, I'm not gonna lie. This podcast is a trash fire, but we always have a good time. So
don't call it that, please. Don't.
So anyway, we'll go ahead and kick things off by talking about what everybody's been playing this week. And Reed, since you're our guest, why don't you go ahead and kick us off, man?
I'm gonna have to say I've been playing NHL 18. Washington Capitals. The Stanley Cup playoffs have been going on. Big Capitals fan. Really happy about them making it past the Pittsburgh Penguins in round 2. I'm sure we could hang a banner for that, because that's who knows, that might be all we get to do. But really excited about it. I love playing the EASHL mode, which is the EA Sports Hockey League. It's a 5-on-5 or 6-on-6 if you can get a goaltender. You play like left wing, right wing, center. And I play with my dad, who's over 60 years old, and we're in like the highest division together, and we love it. When we get mad at each other when we don't do what we're supposed to do on the ice, and we talk strategy and we try to do stuff that we see the Capitals do, and it's just it's my favorite game to play right now. It's just because of the time of season, but also because I get to play with my dad, and it's just really special to get to do that with him.
That's fantastic, dude. That's awesome. I was gonna make a cut about the Capitals there, but since that was such a touching story about your dad, I'm not gonna do that.
It's my armor. It's my armor from those.
Imagine if the Capitals and the Golden Knights make it this year to the Stanley Cup,
So when I was a sports reporter and I was covering the Capitals, George McPhee was the GM of the team. And one of the things I remember most was being at Game 7 with the Capitals, and they lost game. They had lost at home in Game 6, and George McPhee grabbed his suitcase and his briefcase and was just like, another effing Game 7, and marched off. And I was like, oh wow, that's like a sports GM getting mad at his team. That's really cool. So I love it. I'd love a Las Vegas Caps series for that exact reason. The former general manager of the Caps against his former team. So
as as a lifelong Blackhawks fan who over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years has gotten used to victories and Stanley Cups, like this past season was especially rough for me.
You can dry your tears on your banners hanging from your stadium, the ones you
No.
don't have.
I think those days are probably done for a while, man. Reed, that was a great story, man. Anything else you're playing this week, or is that pretty much it?
I've also been playing a little bit of Empire Total War. It's kind of an oldie but goodie, but one of my favorite games. I'm a big fan of the Total War series. I've always kind of just grown up with strategy games, and those always been ones that I love to just play to kind of relax. And so right now I'm kind of on a Napoleon/Empire Total War kick in that time period. Just really love the history from it, the type of warfare that you get to play in that game, and the strategies involved. But if I had to go back further, I'd say Realm's probably my favorite Total War game. But yeah, NHL and Empire Total War, hockey and war. Can't go wrong.
I know, right? That's
Butter and chocolate. They just go so well together.
Well, so that's interesting, right? And this is actually a great segue into what Zach has been playing. Talking about strategy games. I know Zach's been playing that BattleTech.
Yeah.
So why don't you drop some knowledge on that, man?
Sure. So BattleTech is a game that every time I think I understand the systems at play and kind of what's going on, it throws a new mechanic at me that makes it a little bit difficult. But BattleTech is a strategy game based on the classic. I think originally was a board game from decades ago, but it was a successful Kickstarter game. It's a strategy game in which you pick factions and you work with a mercenary group to travel space, to pay off your debts, and to align with different factions. It's really good. Like, I think their back of the box pitch is Game of Thrones meets Firefly, which I kind of get.
That's dope.
But yeah, the combat is really visceral and fun. It's not the mech space lasers that some people kind of associate, even like being Titanfall-esque. A lot of it is like melee-driven combat in these big hulking mechs, and it's really interesting. Like you can manage the individual pilots can get hurt. Oh, my stream. I'm still here? Okay, that was weird. It kind of crashed on me a bit.
You're good, dude.
Great. But no, so you can manage your pilots, but also you can manage the weight of your various mechs that you bring into battle, the different types you bring in. It's a really good game in that you can casually play it for 30 minutes, or you can spend an entire afternoon deep diving. BattleTech's been great. And then I've been playing some other games that can't quite talk about until next week, but I'll look forward to talking about them next week.
I know what game you're talking about.
We'll get there.
The old MDA.
Yep.
Those fucking NDAs, man. But
Yeah, look at you.
there's no NDAs in the SDGC Twitter DMs. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know about that. Finn and Jay. Let's divert.
So we'll go ahead and we'll go with Finn. What are you playing?
Okay.
man?
Well, I mean, I've been slowly wrapping up my God of War Platinum. Beat the game. Now it's just wrapping up all the side content. And I've also been playing a lot of a game I can't talk about right now. But
All this fucking secrecy.
I mean, we've talked about God of War ad nauseum, so I don't want to focus on that. But I also been playing the beta for Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. If you like your weeaboo fighting games featuring Ruby characters from Rooster Teeth.
I do not like them at all.
I know you do.
To be upfront with you.
I'm gonna send them to you.
Please do. I'd love if you did that.
Great.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just been God of War and mystery game that I cannot speak of. But
You guys and your fucking secrets. I'm telling you, man. Jay, what about you, dude?
I actually haven't talked about the games I've been playing like in a while on the show. It's been like a month or so since there's actually been like video game talk on the show. Like for anyone listening, like I've been like fighting for the segment come back on the show for like a month, and everyone's like, no, we don't have enough time.
We have so many topics, Jay. We have so many important topics to cover.
I know, but like this topic's always this topic's always like nice and neutral, like so. For those that don't know, SSX3 was re-released on the Xbox One 2 weeks ago now. Was it 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
Yes, about 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So I've been playing that. That's been a blast. I also realized when it originally came out, the Xbox controllers were like totally different than the PlayStation 2 controls. So like I've been trying to like relearn the game as I've been playing it. So I kind of suck right now. but it looks great on the Xbox One. It's widescreen and whatnot. I mean, it looks good. It's a good looking game. I've been playing MLB The 18 The Show because I'm a huge baseball fanatic. It's a great game.
Series. Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Game.
I've been playing Road to the Show a lot. I was an 18-year-old right fielder, and I got called up to the MLB, and I sucked, but I was doing really well for some reason. So
that's your origin story in the major league.
Yeah, and like I had the Wild Thing haircut too from Major League the movie, and like a big beard. It was a good time. It is a good time.
Whenever I play Road to the Show, I don't ever make like me. I just make some caricature of a baseball player, like the really, really large pitcher or like batter or something like that, and just have fun with it.
My for like sports games, like my character's name is always J James because James is like my legal first name and Jay's like my nickname. So like the announcer would be like J James. Like it sounds like a fake name, but
I'm also not gonna lie. That sounds like an adult film star. I'm just throwing it out there. J James.
There's actually a player for the New York Mets. His name is Jay Bruce, and my middle name's Bruce, and my first name is Jay. So I always think like they're talking about me like in real life. And buy MLB 18 The Show is a great baseball game. Or if you have Xbox Live Gold, get Super Mega Baseball 2. I've heard it's really good. The beta's really good for it. Actually, I'm not going to lie. And the last game I've been playing, and this is the one I've really been wanting to talk about on here, is Yakuza 6. Since no one else bought it, since it came out the same week as the other dad game, God of War.
You mean the better game?
Yeah, I really think Yakuza would have benefited more from like a June release.
I get why they delayed it because I think it's like the manufacturing of their premium editions like delayed it, but like it was such a bad time to release it.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no
I have about like
release that game. Please continue, Jay. Sorry.
No, don't remind.
I know. It's true. Please continue.
I'm dead inside now.
Jay's trying to recover. Go ahead. No. Please continue. Talk about Yakuza 6. I want to hear about it.
Yakuza 6 is a lot of fun. You can definitely tell it's the first game in the series on a brand new engine. There's not as much to do in it as Zero, but like I feel like sometimes it's a stronger game because there's not as much to do. And the fact it's like set like in modern times and you can like save anywhere really helps actually. You have to take care of a baby, which can be fun, but also very irritating, which is what I assume taking care of a baby in real life's like. You're like, oh man, I love this thing, but like, I also want to go buy some ramen. Like, please be quiet.
Yeah, I had that same thought with my daughter. Like, I was just like, damn, I want to go to the karaoke club, but kid, can't do it.
Like, damn, I want to go to the fight club, but I have my kid with me. Never mind.
This sounds like this doesn't sound fun at all. Like I want to go to the club, but my son is with me, so I can't do it. This is like a real life simulator.
It reminds me of Dead Rising 2 when you had to give your kid medicine like every 8 hours.
Oh
and
god, I hated that.
Kill zombies and like not give your kid medicine.
I hated that. I'm like, why can't I just be a bad parent in this game? Like why can't just. This is the apocalypse, son. That's really dark. Anyway, please continue.
But real talk, the game's a lot of fun. The game also has a baseball mini game in it where you have to like recruit players and actually play baseball. So I guess I've been playing 2 baseball games recently.
That's something I would spend an enormous amount of time playing as a mini game, right there. Like a sports game within a game.
Yeah, it's definitely a game in the series that's like trying to like implement a lot of new ideas, and a lot of them work, but a lot of them at times are like, okay, like I feel like in the next game they can push forward more of those ideas. Like I don't know, like it's the last game in Kira's story. Apparently, I haven't beaten the game yet, but like I feel like it's like at the first step towards like a new era of the series. So I'm excited. I haven't played it in like 2 weeks because my life's been like hectic lately, but it's been fun. I recommend buying it. I recommend playing it if you want to be a dad. You don't like God of War, or you don't like boring.
Your life has been hectic. I thought you said your wife has been hectic. I'm like, one, that makes no sense, and 2, you're not married, so bullshit.
My wife has been hectic actually. My wife in my life. So I started playing Persona 5 again. So like I have a bunch of wives now.
Oh, okay.
No one will ever beat Chie. I'll go ahead and take the reins here.
Shut the fuck up.
You know I'm right.
Chie's whack.
Chie is
My high school girlfriend
incredible.
bought me a Chie poster, and it was really bad.
Chie is the best.
Threw it
dude.
away in front of her.
But so anyway, I want to tell you guys about a game I've been playing this week. One of the greatest 2D platformers of all time, and this is actually the first time I have ever played it. So I never got the chance to. Was Donkey? Shut up and let me finish my thought. Donkey Kong. That was too rude. I'm sorry, Jay. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I am absolutely in love with this game. I've already finished the OG difficulty, just playing as Donkey Kong, where you got your 2 hearts, and now I'm doing my Funky Kong playthrough. Funky Kong is ridiculously overpowered. It's almost impossible to die so far, based on my experience. If you're Funky Kong, you can jump on spikes, you can double jump. It's just he's such a fun character to play as. You can use him to bypass entire sections of the game that you would really struggle on as original Donkey Kong. And in a way, he almost breaks the game entirely, but I think that's kind of the whole point, because Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is extremely difficult, and I almost lost my shit fighting the final boss in that game, which just I hit the final boss on my Donkey Kong playthrough at around 10 o'clock at night, and 2.5 hours later I'm still trying to do it, and it's like 30 minutes after midnight, and I've got to be up at 6. I'm like, I don't fucking care, because I know if I don't do this tonight, I'm going to be sitting at work all day thinking about the fact that I didn't do it. So finally, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I beat it, and I swore as loudly as I could. I went to bed, but I was still satisfied, because the game is just an absolute joy to play. It's beautiful in 1080p, 60 frames a second on the Switch. I played it docked. And the game itself and the soundtrack is so fucking good, and it's got all those old school tunes that harken back to the original Donkey Kong trilogy on Super Nintendo. And when I heard Aquatic Ambience for the first time remixed as I jumped into the water, and I think it was Island 5, I was just like, I just had this huge smile plastered on my face. And it's just one of those games that is so eminently replayable, and that's going to become one of my go-to 2D platformers now. I guarantee it. Tropical Freeze is just a fantastic game, and if you have not played it, I highly recommend you go do it. And now is the perfect time too. And it also really speaks to the selling power of the Switch, because it is already sales-wise, it's been out what, like a week now, almost a week, and it has already surpassed what it sold on the Wii U in its entirety.
That's
a week
impressive.
ago.
Which is insane.
And Retro Studios did a great job with that game, and so kudos to them for getting the recognition they kind of deserve. It sold good on the Wii, but for it to the Wii U, but for it to get the sales it's getting on the Switch and have as many people playing as they did, kudos to them. That's awesome. They deserve it.
Well, and Reed, this is why people, and I totally understand it. A lot of people have complaints about the number of ports hitting the Switch, right? And on one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, these are games like Donkey Kong Country, for example, that were tethered to a platform that nobody owned, and they're being given a chance to shine. And now, given that the Switch has a much wider audience and a much greater mindshare than the Wii U ever could have hoped to have had, these games are not only being given a second chance at life, they're being given a second chance at sales as well. And I guarantee you, looking at the success of games like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch and other ports that have sold well, you're going to see a lot more third-party support on the Switch going forward, especially ports of older Wii U games. So yeah, I couldn't be happier about it. It's a great fucking game, and I'm happy to pay the $60 for it. For me, it's worth it.
I can't wait till Nintendo Land gets re-released on the Switch.
It really underscores just how poorly the Wii U did.
It really does, yeah.
I mean, this is not the first time by a long shot that a game has come out on the Switch and immediately eclipsed everything the Wii U did. And it's great because games like these need to be played by more people. And it was always a shame that they would come out on the Wii U and just be immediately lost to time. And it's why I'm really excited for like Captain Toad. I'm very hyped for that one. And we all will hope that Wonderful 101 will show up and get us.
It will.
That's what I was going to jump in and say that the Wii U it had its good life, but a lot of games for it maybe didn't get the exposure they should have or the recognition they should have because people just didn't own as many of the systems or they didn't have the Wii U. Now that Switch is so popular, a game like The Wonderful 101, it was fantastic on the Wii U. It was a great game, but it was a game that I remember going to E3 and seeing and going like, that's a game I want to play, and the line wasn't as long as I wished it would have been for a game like that. Now, maybe on Switch, be able to give it a new life, put it in new hands, and also it's a little easier to play on the Switch potentially.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like Platinum's hard at work at Bayonetta 3. Maybe they'll need extra time, and maybe that Wonderful 101 can kind of buy them some time. Maybe that's us just wishing. The only thing that kind of bums me out is that, as somebody who bought a Wii U, one of the few, and I'm happy to buy a game a second time. But this was a litmus test for, can Nintendo charge us $60 for a visually improved game and with funky mode? Can they sell it and have it take off? And like, it's already eclipsed sales, and it's $60, while somebody could go buy the Wii U version for $20 at Best Buy. So like, I expect more full price re-releases, and that's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a good test for them.
I would like for the delegation to know that on Appeals Court episode 2, John did say that he would buy a copy of The Wonderful 101 for SAC. So if it gets re-released, you know what you're doing, John.
Absolutely. No. Dude,
Thank you for holding him accountable.
You heard it here, so I'm glad Jay called me out. If The Wonderful 101 gets ported to Switch, as I think we all agree it probably will, I will buy Zach a copy of it. I will buy him a copy of it.
Although it will be $60 for some reason.
Although I still need to send Zach my 3DS so he can play Chrono Trigger, because he has never played Chrono Trigger.
I was hoping you forgot.
No,
just buy, didn't they fix the Steam version? So like
sort of.
Just play the Steam version. Like, who cares if you're playing like the original version?
Because
I gotta jump in there and say, man, I own my Final Fantasy Chronicles disc for Chrono Trigger, and I wouldn't play it any other way. Like, it's just, that was the way I played it. Like, on the disc with the memory card, and I know I could just get it on Steam, and it's great on Steam, but there's just something about playing a game like that on the original system. It just feels nice.
I knew Reed was a cool guy.
Oh,
I'm not pointing that out.
Yes, Zach, play Chrono Trigger on the PlayStation 1. That's the best version.
So actually, you know what? Speaking of Nintendo, this is a good segue into our first topic for the night. So, as everybody knows, on May 7th, Nintendo revealed the details, well, not all the details, but kind of the meat and potatoes of their paid online service, which is going to launch in September. And there was a lot of reaction on the internet, a lot of reaction on Era. And I wanted to talk with you guys about it. So the bottom line is Nintendo's online service launches in September. I believe it was $20 a year, if I am not mistaken. Launching with online functionality for games like Splatoon 2, Smash Brothers when that drops, which I guarantee, I think we can all agree Smash is going to drop in September right on top of the online service. We'll know more at E3, but that's I'm calling that one now. But the impression I got is that, one, you will not be able to play any of these games online, including games like Splatoon 2 or Mario Kart, without the paid online service. Cloud saves were the other big thing that people were talking about. We're finally... And you know what? I love Nintendo right now. The Switch is my favorite console. I'm an old school Nintendo fanboy, but I will be the first to admit this is a feature we should have had on day zero. Cloud saves should have been there when the fucking thing launched, and... we're getting them now. Great. It's not too late, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who lost their saves due to Switch failures or dropping their Switches, and so that's really unfortunate. It's a shame that it's kind of bittersweet for those people, I would imagine. And there's also the lack of a virtual console. The virtual console brand, and I specify brand, the virtual console brand as we know it is dead. Apparently to be replaced by a Netflix-style service where we're going to get a assortment of games every month, starting with 20 classic NES games. And
it's
the rumor,
only NES confirmed right now, right?
So
like
it's only NES
right
confirmed.
now it's just NES, I think.
Yeah, but so like the rumor is that we're gonna get Super Nintendo games and GameCube GameCube games and GBA games and stuff like that. Eventually, but time will tell. But so. Let's break this down piece by piece. So right now, I mean, right off the bat, I will say that although I think I think the package itself has issues. $20 a year for this is a very fair price.
I really like to point out too, there's a family plan for like $35 a year, and you can have
Yeah.
8 people on that plan.
Good. Thank you, Jay, for reminding me. Yes, that is true. So like as far as the payment structure goes, I think that's a really good deal. But here's the first thing I'll pose to you guys, and anybody can just jump in here on this. For $20 a year, I'm afraid this service is going to be utter shit.
Do you just mean like the money won't be pulled in to like make a reliable infrastructure like you do with Xbox Live or?
Yeah, I think to the Xbox Live example is, I mean, you pay online services, especially for gamers who are a little older and grew up with PC where it was always free, and you now are being asked to be paying for an Xbox Live or PlayStation or Nintendo Online subscription. It's a little bit of a shock, but I think what we saw with Xbox Live over the years was that money does go to investing into a better system, into a better network, and now Xbox Live is indistinguishable from what it looked like on day one, and I imagine that most likely is going to be what we're going to see at the Switch. It's going to look completely different in September 2018 or 2019 than it did in 2018, and that's going to be kind of the benefit of people coming to it and paying for it and engaging on it and showing them that this is worth it. It's worth having a robust online service for the console.
Yeah, good point.
I agree. I think my issue, Reed, is that Nintendo has never been known for their savvy when it comes to implementing online functionality with their consoles. Excuse me, man. I'll tell you what. This bourbon stout is hitting me really hard. So if I start slurring my words, I apologize.
You're old, John. We get it. You're lightweight.
You know what? 37 years old is not that old. Okay, man. Like, please, come on. I understand that you're game son and you're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. Anyway. But I think my issue with Nintendo is that as much as I love the system, I have serious reservations as to the. I mean, let's face it, right? Like online functionality, chat functionality for Splatoon 2 was a mess. You had to download the app on your phone. You had to connect the app to your headset. You had to. I guess that's my next question. Has there been any mention of a baked-in chat function onto the Switch itself?
No. So what they're doing is they're taking that exact app, but now it's going to be paywalled. So if you want to even chat with your friends now, it's paywalled into the subscription service.
Yeah.
And like again, a $20 paywall is not prohibitive. It's not a deal breaker. But we're also working adults, right? Like to a kid who plays Splatoon with his friends, $20 is still a bit of money. But I think $20 is not a lot of money, and we've said that, and I think it will go to infrastructure improvement. But I feel like we're seeing them lump in things that should be free to try to pad out a package that's otherwise a little bit lackluster.
You're talking about
right?
cloud saves.
So I'm talking about cloud saves, and I'm talking about like their chat thing, which is like, again, we'll just use Discord because that's the easier thing to do.
Yeah, I remember them saying that. So Discord is the chat function?
No. I'm just saying that Discord is the same thing and it's free on your phone.
Got it. Okay,
like, if I'm
right,
gonna
right,
use my
right.
phone,
Okay,
I might as well
right,
just use Discord.
My question is, Zach.
Yeah.
The big problem people are having is this news basically signaled the death of Virtual Console as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Does not look like they're going to do Virtual Console anymore. Looks like they're going to try and do this new method of slightly updated existing games.
People are overreacting on that one.
We'll
There's
see.
been a massive overreaction on that one, man.
I think
I've been reserving my judgment for after E3 because I just feel like this is something that maybe showing off in person makes more sense. It makes me wonder if it's kind of like when PlayStation had the Gaikai streaming service, and they wanted that PlayStation Now be a very big part of how they were going to deliver games to you, and they kind of walked that back a bit as if we're not going to focus as much on that because people didn't quite go to it. So it'd be interesting to see how Nintendo reacts, not just to the news, but the announcements and how people are kind of disseminating that information that it's just going to be NES games right now, knowing that Nintendo's vault is so valuable of games, and that's what people are always kind of interested in what they're going to do with. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was kind of like not like known, but like it was hinted that Virtual Console's been dead for like 2 years now. I mean, like
Yeah, and that's the
they've been
thing.
selling they've been selling these products like the Nintendo Mini and Super Nintendo Mini, and they've been selling like Game Busters. Like, why should Nintendo stop doing that? Like, why? If they can sell like $80 devices and just like cram like some games in there, like they don't really have to license, then yeah, like they should just go for that.
Well, but like, and that's kind of interesting too, right? Like, you bring up a good point of like their mini consoles negate the point of a VC. And I think you're right, but again, I still think we see Nintendo underproducing, especially with the NES, but that's kind of old news now. But like I think Reed brings up a good point, which is that Nintendo might walk back their decision on Virtual Console for things like GameCube, because people already have the SNES and NES minis, right? So like the $20 bundle of games for NES isn't that tantalizing to somebody who already has an NES mini. But if they throw in Super Mario Sunshine, the game that everybody loves, as a Virtual Console thing down the line to sweeten the $20 deal. It was a joke.
I like Sunshine.
Sunshine's all right, but I just mean that, like, you know, maybe like Reed was saying, maybe they'll bring back these games that they kind of backed away from in order to sweeten the deal, right?
Yeah, if you remember the early days of the Wii, I was a huge fan of the Wii's Virtual Console, and I waited. I think it was every Tuesday they put the new Virtual Console games up, and I would get up and wait to see what they were going to put up because I wanted to see. And I got more and more excited as they started to put more and more systems on it. And so, you know, I don't want to speculate for Nintendo because obviously I don't speak for Nintendo, but I would imagine that starting with 20 NES games on their system and seeing how those people use these games. Also, you know, if you have an online subscription service and you're offering something and people don't go and use it, then it's kind of like, well, should we put any money there or really throw it out? I know I'm going to use the NES games a lot. I know there'll be a lot of other people do it too. So I'm just kind of curious to see how the service grows in that respect with the catalog.
Yeah, I feel like people forget, like, with like the Wii's Virtual Console, like, you didn't have to pay for internet back then. It was like a free online service, and like Nintendo was paying money to like license these games that like they didn't publish. Like the catalog for the Virtual Console on the Wii was huge, and then like, but yeah, I mean, like, online services cost money, and it costs money to license games, and I'm sure they're still recovering from like the Wii U and whatnot. So I mean, like, they gotta play it safe. I mean, like, I don't blame them.
Well, and I think the one thing that people aren't considering is that, you know, back in 2006. You know, before, you know, the huge rise of Netflix's online service, like, you know, the Virtual Console made sense. You know, like, it made sense to have a place to sell these games at a premium price and keep these classics alive. But now that everything is going, everything is turning into a subscription-based service now. And so Nintendo, the key wording for me was the Virtual Console banner. You know, like these games will not exist under the banner of Virtual Console anymore. You know, now we're doing Nintendo Classics. And so what I think you're going to see happen is, I think it's going to be simple. It's going to be an online service, and this will be rolled into the price of the, you know, Nintendo Online functionality, you know, whatever they want to call it. But there will be a selection of games every month that will probably rotate every few months. Starting off with NES games, then moving on to Super Nintendo and GameCube and probably N64. It makes sense as a business model. It makes sense, and quite honestly, like, I've heard a lot of people complaining about, there was a lot of noise on the Era thread about this. You know, when people were saying, "Well, this is why I bought my Switch, and I'm selling my Switch," and I was like, "Well, then, if you bought a Switch because you wanted to play Super Nintendo games, you bought a Switch for the wrong reason." Because, you know, I think the writing's been on the wall for this for a year now. And we have said on this podcast the success of these consoles, these mini consoles, like, you know, the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic, mean two things. One, there is still a demand for classic games, for classic Nintendo properties. And two, Virtual Console's dead. It's dead because Nintendo knows that they can. I guarantee you, N64 Mini will drop this fall. You guys know it's coming, and it's going to sell gangbusters. And eventually we'll probably get these games on Nintendo's online service. But
it also begs the question, though, because like you're saying, they're actively choosing to put games on a service and then release games as a kind of box or a mini system, and it makes you wonder about whether or not people value the NES catalog or the experience. Like, owning a Super NES Mini was a big deal for people because it was just like how they played. I even said it earlier on the podcast when I said, "Oh, play Final Fantasy Chronicles, play the PS1 version." That feels like the best way to play it for me. So, you know, I'm curious to whether or not there's almost like marketing behind it, where kind of the older generation, they don't necessarily want to log into Netflix to play these old games, but they want to be able to do the old console, turn on TV, and play it on a miniature console they can play on anything. So it's just something that I've always kind of thought is interesting as people speculate about what may or may not be made in the future from Nintendo's console catalogs.
Yep. Well, and like the last year has shown, like, it's really, the last, frankly, 18 months have showed it's really easy to doubt Nintendo, and like, And their track record in the past maybe suggests that that's necessary, but like
Yeah,
last 18 months they've done
Delta
everything right, so they'll pull it off. We'll see.
Zach says they're going to pull it off. I think we can all agree that regardless of the problems that may be present in the online system or their chat functionality or their app, this thing, they're going to make a lot of money off of this. Everybody's going to want to play Smash Brothers because that's the game that they're going to launch with this. You know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be if that's not launching with the online service, it would most likely have to be coming sometime Christmas or in the spring afterwards. It would be kind of, you would not want to launch an online service without the online game. It reminds me of Xbox Live and Halo 2. That cemented it. Once Halo 2 was on Xbox Live, people didn't complain about the service fee anymore. They wanted to play Halo.
Yep. And I think just like Halo 2, you will not see. If Smash Bros. Online is struggling in tandem with this launch of their online service, it's make or break, right? Like I think people's first experience has to be strong, and that's the same thing with Halo 2, right? Like if Halo 2 had flopped, if the online service with Xbox Live flopped, like that would have been a big deal. So we'll see if Nintendo can do it.
As long as they're launching with something a property like Smash, it's going to sell. I mean, people are going to sign up. I mean, I was iffy about it, but I'm going to sign up. I mean, it's Smash Brothers, right? And it is Smash Brothers is basically Nintendo's Halo. If you own a Switch, you're going to pick up Smash Brothers and you're going to want to play it online because that's the whole point of picking up Smash Brothers.
I mean, besides playing it with your friends in a local multiplayer setting, which is how most people play
nobody
Smash
does
nowadays.
that anymore, Jay.
Yes, they do.
This. Nobody does that anymore. I have not.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I went over to a friend's house and they're playing Smash in the living room with like 6 people.
There's pretty much Smash set up at all times in the ESA office. I mean, it's just like one button push away on some of our lobby TVs.
I need to come get a job at ESA, Reed. Yo, dude, I'm looking, man. I want to get out of my current job. So if you're
Smash is still like highly popular as a local multiplayer game. Like hell, I think it's popular. I think it's more popular as like a local multiplayer game than it is like as an online game.
Yep,
it's one of those games that really plays well locally. It can play well online, but the reaction of what happens in the game and sitting next to the person or the person across the room, it's like GoldenEye. GoldenEye had that about it. It was just a game that played so well with groups, and then when you took it and made it online, it was still fun through like mods and stuff like that. But I always remember GoldenEye being a sit-down play-up game, and that's kind of how I remember Smash. But Smash Online. That's the game that is going to sell that service.
Yeah. So there's actually a good question in chat from our friend Mitty, and she had asked Zach, and this is a good question because I don't know the answer to it. Is there messaging functionality at all baked in with this online service?
Like I said, I don't think the current app has messaging in it, like text messaging. I think it's all voice right now. I don't really use my Switch's online just because the only game that really uses it is Splatoon, and I don't have any buddies who play it, and it's hard to do it.
Dude, I play Splatoon every other day. Play with me.
Yeah, I think it's just like a burden to match up with people is what I meant. But yeah, no, we will see. I think like we were saying at E3, they're gonna have to share some details on it. So we'll see, Mitty. We'll see.
Well, and here's the other thing, and I had seen Anthony, and by the way, shout out to our good friends from Continue Podcast, Anthony Agnello from VentureBeat, and Wout McDutch, the hashtagonist, our good friend, doing the hashcast. He's in chat as well. He was like, oh shit, you guys got Thor on the podcast. So fucking Wout. Anthony had mentioned something about compilations, and I think, I'll tell you what right now, and I think, Reed, for example, you told me if you agree, but I think if Square Enix, for example, and this is just an example, were to say, okay, here's Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 on one cartridge, that would sell fucking gangbusters. Or here's Chrono Trigger on a cartridge. Or here's Final Fantasy 7 or Final 7, 8, 9 on a cartridge. Go ahead.
And I'm just spitballing here, John, but maybe like a Secret of Mana trilogy.
I really, really want the Seiken Densetsu trilogy to be localized for the Switch. I would fucking love that. Even though Secret of Mana doesn't hold up as well as some people think, it's still just a fun, really, really fun, amazing game to play.
Or Square could re-release Xenogears on the Switch.
Oh my god, I would fucking holy shit! Or like Einhander, Square, give us Einhander back.
That's never going to fucking happen.
Probably
That's never going to happen.
But I'm allowed to dream, Jay.
Bring back Bushido Blade.
No. If you're gonna bring back a game, bring back fucking Brave Fencer Musashi. If you're Square
None of
Enix,
these
Masachi
games-
sucked.
None of these
Can I,
games.
can I toss Vagrant
Yeah,
Story?
dude, it sucked.
Get off my podcast.
I feel like no one talks about this game anymore. Vagrant Story, anyone? Parasite
Vagrant
Eve?
Story? Did you say Vagrant
Yeah,
Story?
Vagrant Story, Parasite Eve. Come on, guys.
Vagrant Story is my jam. I'm an Ashley Riot man from way back.
Actually, one of my favorite Square games from back in the day was Threads of Fate.
Oh, that's a good one, Jay. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I forgive you for your opinions on Final Fantasy VI. But you know what? I actually tweeted this out today. Not to get too off topic, but I really want Square Enix to bring Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions edition to the Switch, because it's guys, it's like playing Game of Thrones. I mean, the fucking plot threads in that game are just so incredible. Zach,
they could just bring the phone version over. Actually,
John, I'm just so sick of you turning this into a port begging podcast, which is really
this is the Super Deformed Port Beg cast, and please
Yeah.
bring all the
It's gonna be
games.
fun like when E3 and all the publishers are like, so you're waiting for games to be remade now, huh? But
I
mean, like people like them. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them because it's fun to have the remastered version of Shadow of Colossus on the current console I'm playing and know that it's taking advantage of it in some way, and it's convenient. It's just convenient. It's really, I'd say the reason you see a lot of remasters is it's convenient for gamers and it's convenient for the publishers. They get to remaster a game they've already made, and they know they're probably going to make money off it because it was a very good game to begin with. Fans like it because it's more convenient. Play it on the new system, play it on the online system, maybe even get, the full, like in The Witcher's case, it's like release the full version of the game. That's the version with all the season pass content at $60 2 or 3 years after that as a remaster. And people will buy it because it's convenient, and it's convenient for the publishers too.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
at E3, I'm gonna go to every game booth and just record myself saying like Switch port when.
Don't do that. That's bad behavior. They're not gonna like that.
So there's
Don't do that.
Just make like a long video of me doing
That's
that.
so
for, like, 2
mean.
minutes.
There's one more question I wanted to ask you guys about the Switch online service.
All right.
And very, very simple question. Do you guys think that there will be some kind of a peripheral to come out that will attach to your Switch and allow you to make a LAN connection? Because right now the Switch is locked to Wi-Fi. The reason I ask that is because I don't know if you guys saw the recent Switch peripheral that Nintendo announced, where you can finally charge your Switch when it's undocked on the kickstand.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Finally, right? Yeah. By the way, that is going to be changed on the first hardware review.
I've made my own Switch charging stand with just my genius ingenuity and whatever was laying around in my desk at the time, and I'm so glad that they're going to tilt this, the stand just a little bit.
So, yeah,
I don't want to criticize the companies, but man, I feel like that should have been there at the start, because that's the first thing I tried to do when I had that dock, was wanted to dock in and just play it and have it charging and sit there. So
yeah, that was a massive design oversight, and so now we've got this peripheral coming out, and I'm wondering if you guys think that Nintendo will release some kind of a LAN add-on that will allow you to make a physical connection as opposed to just Wi-Fi when it's docked.
You know what?
I don't think so.
Because the original Wii had that as well.
It was 2000. Well, remember, their online infrastructure was so much, especially Nintendo's online infrastructure was so much different back then.
I still think that'll be an option that they give people. I don't think it'll be a huge push for it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, because their last Wi-Fi only console got that as an add-on, and I remember grabbing it because I always prefer a tethered connection to a Wi-Fi one if it's possible.
It's entirely possible. Go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, just as a broadcaster, I've always preferred the hardline connection over the Wi-Fi connection. We've seen with mobile games that hardline connection isn't entirely always necessary, but it's one of those peripherals that it just always seems to come out because there's always a need for it. Or someone always needs it, or someone will end up making it because it's just something that's useful.
Even if it's not an official Nintendo product, I could see Nyko coming out with it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, don't use Nyko product.
party.
Don't use. I don't know if you guys saw what's been happening with those third-party products and bricking switches, but I would not allow a third-party, especially Nyko right now, because they're the products that are doing it. I would not allow a third-party product within 100 miles of my Switch right now. I told you this bourbon stout is effective.
Was that the issue of like the voltage being off? Wasn't that what it was?
So
with the Switch?
I'm not sure what it was, but I do know that these third party docks, specifically the ones made by Nyko, but I know it's other brands as well, are actually bricking people's Switches. It was a big thing, and somebody's actually filed a class action lawsuit against Nyko for it.
I'm willing to agree with Ben here. Like, I don't think Nintendo themselves is going to like release like an official like LAN camp like cable for that, but like I feel like a third party would.
Oh God, stay far away from that.
I like it would just be like a logical thing for Nintendo to release, but like just given Nintendo's like history of like online gaming, they're probably like, yeah, like we don't really like need that, and then like
you
if,
mean
like,
what you mean to say is Nintendo's history of not doing things entirely logically.
Are like they're like
That's
10
what
years
you meant to say.
are they like 10 years ahead of like one aspect, but they're like 10 years behind on like five other like aspects of their system.
Classic. That's the curse of being a Nintendo fan, man. We'll go ahead and move on. I feel like we've talked enough about the Nintendo's online functionality. Unless there is a point that anybody else wants to bring up before we move on, I'm willing to hear it.
No.
Nobody? Okay. So
I guess the one thing I would want to be interested in, because like like the Switch is like popular for like being able to like take it on the go and play games, is like if you pay the $20 a year and you have like this Netflix service of like Nintendo games or like remixes of Nintendo games, aka Nintendo Remix, which came out on 3DS and Wii U, yada. Like I internet connection to play those games, or if you could play them offline.
Sorry, you cut out for a minute. Did you say that you're wondering if they're gonna have us have to have a constant connection to have?
Yeah, because if they're like saying like this is like Netflix of games, like do you need to be constantly be like connected to the internet to?
You
don't. Is that confirmed?
Yep. You do not need to be online.
I didn't know that was confirmed or not.
You do not need to be online to play those.
That was something I was interested in too, is whether or not you need a constant connection to play the games. If it was like streaming, like the Gaikai PlayStation Now, or if it was just like download like Xbox Games with Gold kind of works.
You're actually downloading games to your Switch.
Okay. Yeah, then I don't understand why people were so upset. Then like it was more like PSN Now. Like I would actually understand, I guess. But
yeah, like it would suck. It would suck to pay for like Donkey Kong or whatever, Super Mario Bros. 3, and then like not be able to play it on a plane, right?
So I actually read I read the Kotaku article about it, and you do not need to be online in order to actually play any of the classic games, which is good. That's a fucking smart move by Nintendo.
I'd be surprised. Like those games are not very big, like file size. So why would you need an internet connection to play Final Fantasy when you probably could download it 5 minutes before getting on? Like, you could download that on airport Wi-Fi and probably get on the plane with your game fine.
Yeah.
They're not like 10 or 20 gigabyte games. So it's got to think that's the right
what I
decision
did
with
to
that.
play. That's why I did to play Final Fantasy Tactics on the plane recently.
Oh, Final Fantasy.
So it works. Yeah.
So
All right, John, bring us on.
So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to E3 leaks, and not just discussing the games that were leaked, but also discussing the impact on developers. Because if anybody has seen the tweets from my boy Pete Hines today, and some of the other Bethesda tweets, people not too happy. So this was Walmart Canada, I believe it was.
Shout out to Jeff. We miss you, buddy.
Thanks,
Come back
Jeff.
on the show.
Jeff, we miss you. He'll probably be back next week. So
I didn't know the Dakota pipeline was leaking games.
This was Canada is good for a lot of stuff, and leaking games apparently is at the top of the list, because this leak came from Walmart Canada, and Wario64 actually on Twitter was the first one to bring attention to this. I'll go over some of the bigger titles that were leaked. You've got Splinter Cell, Just Cause 4, which why? But okay, whatever. Just Cause.
I'm sorry.
Dragon Quest 2, which is interesting, considering we're on Dragon Quest 11. Destiny Comet, which I am more than willing to bet is the fall expansion for Destiny, that's dropping sometime probably in September. Borderlands 3. And I want to remind everybody that at PAX West last year, Randy Pitchford said that the majority of staff at the studio is working on the one thing that I think most of you guys want us to be working on, which clearly is they're working on Borderlands 3. Not to be confused with Broaderlands 3 by Randall Pitchfork, as you can see on the screen there. I swear to God, you look like a young Randy Pitchford. It's weird. I don't understand.
That's not a compliment.
He's a handsome man. What are you talking about?
He has me blocked on Twitter. I
Why
don't know
does-
why, or
why
he
does
did have me blocked. So
That's weird.
What did you do?
What did you do to Randy? Randy's a nice guy.
Randy's a nice guy. What did you do?
I don't know. I think no. Actually, there was a post on the old website, the NeoGAF, and I think I like made fun of him for like cheating on his like wife or something like that.
Well, don't do that. Don't make fun of him for cheating. Come
Ow.
on, come on. Don't do that. Assassin's Creed. Who
That
Assassin's
one's
Creed?
curious because these are all placeholder names. So is
Who
that
knows
a
about Assassin's
Is it a
Creed?
new one?
I would guess so. If it is a new one, just give me Feudal Japan and I'll be happy. I've been asking for it for years.
It very well could be. Remember, Assassin's Creed in between settings, sometimes they do like a secondary game. They did Assassin's Creed Rogue in between Black Flag and Unity. So they keep the setting, but they use all the elements. It's in my name. I'm assuming the publisher is making it using a lot of the elements from the original game to make a new game while they're building the next one. So I don't know any of that stuff because we don't know any of it like as we plan E3. But like if I had to guess what an Assassin's Creed game would probably be, I maybe guess it's going to be a follow up to Origins, just kind of as like a side story or secondary story.
I would probably think you're right. I think they're done with mainline annual games. So I think that's spot on. Probably some kind of expansion or DLC or like a kind of like how they did Brotherhood. You know, like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Assassin's Creed. You know, yeah, whatever. You know that the Ezio trilogy. I think you're probably on the money there.
I would say it's even more of a half step than that, and not in a pejorative sense, but more like Blood and Wine, like Witcher style,
That's a
where
good comparison, yeah.
because they can still use the same assets, which means less, you know what I mean, and like not in a negative way, but it allows them to continue using the same space without dedicating a ton of dev team while they work.
And what Blood and Wine showed us was that a large expansion could be sold digitally, and also they did do a retail version of it, I believe, for it. But what it showed them was that you didn't necessarily have to release a brand new game and go through all that like hoops of jumping through making a whole new game. You could just make it as an expansion on your main game, and kind of like how it used to be in 1998 with like RPGs and stuff like that.
But I'm inclined to believe it's not a true new one because if there's one thing Ubisoft learned from Origins was that taking it away from the annualized setup really benefited them.
That was the best thing. Yeah, that was the best thing that series.
I'm a big fan of the series. I thought that was one of the best things they did. I was really happy. I love Assassin's Creed, but a little break to let them go and try new ideas and do new things with it was just what the doctor ordered, and it paid off in the scores. You can see the review scores and the sales. It earned it.
What if it's the story of Bayek's wife setting up the Assassin's Bureau in Rome?
Yeah,
it'd be great. Her character was, I haven't finished the game yet, but I always wanted more time with her on screen.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler from the last Assassin's Creed game.
No, I doubt. I mean, at this point, you know, like.
I don't know.
I don't. Think
it's very loose. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So there's more that was leaked. Lego DC Villains, which sounds interesting. Rage 2, which was the conversation du jour on Twitter today. That was trending today. Like I never thought we'd be living in a world where I could say, hey, Rage 2 is trending on Twitter. But here we are in 2018. Forza Horizons 5, which is curiously skipped.
Forza Horizons
5, which is currently that's skipping. I don't know what happened to 4.
Skipping 4.
Gears of War 5. So there's more, but those are the big ones I wanted to touch on. So right off the bat, we'll focus on Rage 2. I think is the crux of the conversation, simply because that is
Bethesda's reacted.
So Pete Hines and the Bethesda account actually reacted on Twitter today, and they did all of this without denying any of it. They said they were correcting what was it, grammar. And they were correcting something about the tweets.
No age rating.
Right. Yeah.
It was a picture of the black box that Walmart had posted as the placeholder image, and it just said Rage 2, and they like circled like wrong font, no ESRB rating, no key image art. It was funny. And then I think obviously I work with E3 and run the social media account, so when I saw the Walmart news, I was just thinking like, well, it happened again this year. We always have like some sort of news come out about the games that might be coming or maybe aren't. But what I always kind of think is to remember is that seeing is believing, and that even though you might see the name Rage 2, seeing what it actually looks like and what they're actually bringing and how it's going to play is much more fun than just seeing the name. I know some people really like just seeing like, oh, I know this game is going to be there, so it's going to be there. I like to be surprised, but I find it like even if something kind of gets spoiled, I still generally get kind of excited because we still haven't seen it. It's just a name at that point, and it's cool to actually physically see it and know like it's real. This is happening.
Well, and that's the thing too, Reed. Right? Is like Finn and I were streaming E3's Spotlight, or sorry, Nintendo's E3 Spotlight last year, and somebody had told me, I won't say who it was, but somebody had told me Metroid Prime 4 is going to be announced at E3, and I didn't believe it. I was like, no. But then of course, when Finn will tell you, when the logo came on the screen, I was like, whoa! And I was like, oh! And I'm a huge Metroid fan, and it's almost like the it's like Christmas. Like the anticipation of the thing is almost as fun and exciting as getting the thing, right?
It's like when your parents hint you might be getting what you asked for Christmas.
Exactly,
and you're like,
right?
Oh, but I'm gonna behave,
But I think there's a flip side to it as well, and that's really what I wanted to focus on. So Pete Hines, I think probably, so he tweeted out, "This is why we can't have nice things," and so I think we can. So here's the thing: by doing that, not only in my mind, and you guys tell me if you disagree with me, not only in my mind did that confirm the existence of Rage 2, but it also probably validated the entire list of leaked games, because if Rage 2 is real and it's on that list and it was leaked by Walmart Canada on that same list, then the rest of those games are probably accurate. So my question is, and I got the sense that Pete was unhappy. And there was
he later said he was joking.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if he is unhappy, I think he has every right to be unhappy. I mean, developers and developers especially, they work hard on these games, and they are excited about showing them to people. And there was a post on Era that really hit home for me, and he said, and this was when people were theorizing that Pete Hines were mad, and somebody said, "Well, Pete just needs to suck it up. This isn't for them; it's for us." And I was like, what a fucking attitude that is. Like the people who make these games are just as excited about telling us about them as we are about seeing them and playing them. And for me, like, leaks like this, like huge leaks like this, are a massive double-edged sword, because on one hand it's fun, it's we just said this, it's fun to know it's coming, it's fun to know that our excitement is validated, and we're like, oh my god, this game I've wanted for so long is coming. But at the same time, I think we have to consider those developers who have been working on something like Rage 2 for probably years, and we're super excited about dropping it up, because nobody would have expected Rage 2 of all things. Like, I loved the first Rage, and I never would have thought we'd gotten a sequel. But here we are, and I can't help but feel sorry for the guys who worked so hard on this game only to have their big moment kind of spoiled.
I agree. I just wish she hadn't been sarcastically rude to someone, been like, "Well, why don't you check your Magic 8-Ball or some shit?" Like,
from Walmart Canada.
Yeah. I don't know. It came off as dickish to me. Like, I get it. You're upset that this product you've been basically co-designing or you're in charge of got leaked, but don't take it out on people on Twitter or try come off as rude, because it's not their faults at all.
But Jay, did you even see how the guy he responded
No, I didn't actually.
I think he knew that guy, because the other guy was in on the joke and laughed along with it. I don't think.
Oh, okay, and then that's cool.
Internet humor is hard to pick up on, right? It's hard to tell if he's being a dick or yeah, it's hard to tell.
But here's the thing: I don't think he's being a dick. I
don't either. Just because even based on the fact that he's just not in general, it's not like other developers that we know have a history of acting that way.
Well, so. Yeah, well, not only that, but I don't even think you can't even say it's acting that way. Like Mitty pointed out in chat, and she's absolutely right. She said, Pete Hines is VP of marketing for Bethesda. I would be pissed if my company's game leaked. I would, yeah, sure. I would be too.
There's a lot goes into presenting these games to gamers. A lot of hiding it, a lot of NDAs. Hundreds, thousands of hours of developer time and working over, time away from families building these games. So you want to be able to walk into a show like E3, which is known for debuting the biggest games and stuff, and be able to plant your flag and walk out of that week as one of the biggest games of the week.
Yep.
And if it gets leaked beforehand, I don't know if it severely impacts your ability to do that, but it takes away that shock moment or that stunning moment that goes, like, I'll never forget The Last Guardian being announced at the Sony press conference. Every year, gamers just would assume it would come, and it wouldn't come. And then the year it did come, it was worth it. It was a lot of fun to see that moment happen. And that's what every publisher wants, is that moment. They want to have that moment happen. So to have it leaked ahead of time, you know, it kind of goes back to the seeing is believing. It's like, you know, I'd say, like, the way I'd circle back to marketing speak is like, okay, well, you know, the title may or may not be out there, but what we can do is make sure that, you know, when we do show it, it's really going to blow people away, or we know we've got a trailer confident enough that name alone is enough to get them peaked. It's really what you're going to see that makes it more exciting. And I think, you know, for a guy like Pete, yeah, it sucks. You've been working so hard on getting this ready. You've kept it secret for years. I wonder how long they started working on Rage 2, and then you're, 3-4 weeks out from E3, a month out from E3, and just Walmart Canada like that puts a list of games up that may or may not be true. That's a little frustrating, but, you know, you gotta, you know, kind of have to take the punches where you go from there. And I think that Bethesda had some fun with it, and I like that, because rather than sit there and deny it or confirm it or play the we're gonna stonewall and not talk to you about it, they had fun with it. And also, it was fun in the way of Rage as humor. Like, this is how Rage the game would respond to this. This is how Bethesda would respond to this. It was very in kind with their brand and who they are. And so I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, I think it's still going to be a game we're going to line up for hours and talk about and, like, love to see. But yeah, that little shock, that stun moment that you build up for, it's really sweet when you get it. And so I really wish we didn't have the leaks that happened, because those moments are so much fun at E3. And they're so much fun to see, like, chat go wild on and people in their crowd go wild for.
So I think Rage is kind of in an interesting position compared to some of the other games on the list. And again, I don't think anyone except for Bethesda has addressed these leaks in any official capacity. But what I think is interesting about Rage is that Rage is kind of a middling experience. It's IdTech's kind of shaky game that kind of capped off last gen for them. And, like, if I was sitting, you know, Sunday night at E3 and Bethesda announced that game, you come into it with the baggage of, oh, but the original game wasn't that good, or is a middling game, or wasn't an incredible game. But now we've got a whole month to accept, hey, this game is real. They started to tease the date 5/14 in 2 promotional images today, which suggests Monday we'll probably hear more about the game. So we have a month to joke about the game's existence, and that also allows Bethesda to come out on stage on that Sunday night and show a game that, instead of us walking out saying, I can't believe Rage 2 is a thing, we can say, I can't believe how fucking cool Rage 2 is.
Yes.
And that's a unique position, right? Because, you know, like, Microsoft's going to come out there and probably talk about some Gears of War, probably going to talk about Forza, but those games don't have the baggage that Rage does. So I think this is a unique position for them, and like everything Reed said is, like, it is such a pleasure for somebody who can appreciate communications and marketing to watch it happen, to watch the way Bethesda and ID have worked together to make these really effective social pushes this week that, like, touch on the tone of Rage, but also are, like, lighthearted and kind of, like, push that edgy attitude that Bethesda has adopted since, you know, Wolfenstein 2's marketing. It's so on brand. They're nailing it. But again, like, there are people who are bummed, right?
I also think Bethesda has to be a little bummed out, because everybody thinks they know what Bethesda's working on, and then they come out and it's like, we may or may not be working on Rage 2. You guys think, it's like everyone thinks they're working on Elder Scrolls, or, you know, what the space game that people have been hinting at for a couple months and years now. So everyone's expecting, like, a league is going to see that, and then you see Rage 2, and I feel like they kind of go like, oh, that take away some of that surprise, because there is a little surprise in misdirecting your audience a bit too, and now that misdirection's gone. So, you know, some of the bigger surprises may not have that build-up of, we just got Rage, and we got X, Y, and Z. It's not, okay, we know we're going to see that. And so I can see where there can be a little frustration there. But I also think you're absolutely right that you get a month to, like, be like, this game is coming. If you didn't like the first one, you can go play it. Or if you never played it, you can go play it, get familiar with it. And then suddenly that debut at E3 is much more impactful for you.
Yep. Well, and keep in mind, like, oh, go ahead, Jay, sorry.
I feel like this time I feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like the leak might help Bethesda out a little bit, because I don't know if people remember, like, when they, like, unveiled like the first Rage. It was supposed to be like the second coming. It was supposed to be like their next Doom, and like it had all this expectation on it, and it like I think that's why people don't like it, because like it didn't live up to all that hype.
Yeah.
And like ever since then, like they've released like Doom, the reboot of Doom or whatever, and they've released like Wolfenstein, and they've kind of like gotten themselves like back to the top. So like I feel like people trust them more. Like I don't feel like Rage 2 is gonna have like the impact, like the cultural impact like the first one, could have had, or like I remember going to the midnight release for Rage 1, and it was like packed because everyone was just like stoked for it. Like I mean like everyone's like, wow, like the true like first person shooter is like back, because at that point like it was just a bunch of like military shooters.
I mean,
So,
Rage
like,
was fantastic.
That's true. Yeah, that Rage came right at the end of like the Call of Duty Modern Warfare run, where everyone had a military shooter.
Yeah, like I remember what was the first Wolfenstein that came out on next gen consoles? Not New Colossus, but it was like the World Order or the Next Order.
The New Order.
The New Order.
Yeah, like I feel like what that game ended up being is like what people wanted out of the first Rage, and it's like so I feel like Bethesda's got this like confidence back. They're like, hell yeah, like we can do this, and like.
I'm curious if Machine Games is working on it, because they're the ones who've been working on Wolfenstein. They worked on Doom. They make incredible shooters. They just know how to make an action game in their hands.
Yes.
Like,
I feel it's like my help. I might just like people are probably not gonna be like, oh fuck, like I remember Rage, like that game that lived to my expectations. It's like, okay, cool, like Rage 2 is probably gonna be announced at E3. Like that's totally awesome. And you know what? Like they've released some great first person shooters, so like I'm not too worried about it.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that like if Machine Games is working on it, I have no concerns about a Rage 2. And I'm somebody who loved the first Rage. So I couldn't be more excited about it. So let me ask you.
I like the first Rage a lot.
Let me ask you guys this: Do you guys think that if that leak hadn't dropped, we would be getting some kind of reveal on May 14th? Do you think all those tweets today would have happened, or do you think do you think this is a reaction to the leak? They're like, well, screw it.
I think it might be a reaction, and I'm just speaking on my own terms and not on any knowledge of like ESA or E3, but I just know that Bethesda has a history of waiting until about like a week out from E3 to throw up a Twitch stream with a countdown image for 24 hours, and then they play a trailer for they did this for Fallout 4, and everyone was waiting for the Fallout 4 E3 reveal. They actually revealed the first like teaser trailer a week before E3, and then walked into E3 and were one of the most talked about games coming out of that week, because I watch all like social stats of who's talking about what games, and it was impressive because that's a really smart way to do it, is the week out from E3, drop some sort of teaser of something big is coming and get everyone's attention like a week out before someone else can maybe take your attention. And so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they had this plan for end of the month or beginning of June, and then this came out and they're just like, okay, we got to go because we don't want to spend a month saying no. We want to be spending a month promoting,
Yeah, I guess I was gonna say that I think it's always been planned, but I guess Reed makes a good point, because the reason I assumed that it was right was I was looking at posts and I was thinking about, if it's a single guy, it's really easy to make a social marketing thing. But I'm thinking of the bureaucracy of working through a developer and then working through a publisher to create stuff. But I also think that they probably had a plan of like they shared an image of a rocket ship with 514 on it, and they also shared the clock. But there's no reason that clock didn't say, 6, 6/5.
Yeah, exactly.
And like changing the dates on a planned social post is easy. It's the design. So yeah, I absolutely think they were going to announce it beforehand. But Reed's absolutely right. They could have bumped that date a little bit sooner.
It could have been whatever, and
Sure.
So but I just, in their history of how Bethesda and how other companies like to handle their pre-E3 announcements, it's not uncommon to see week out like teasers, which then set the stage for like, it's almost good to have an appetite letter for like, you're getting what you want in your press conference, but there's also so much more. And so that's kind of why I've seen some companies do that.
So a question in chat is that definitely Rage 2 related? I think referring to the tweets, yeah, I think they're probably related to Rage 2.
Oh yeah, the purple so if you like the hex code for the pink is matching the same hex code for id's like joke on the box art, and like that's just good marketing, is to match your hex code for your pinks. So it's the same.
I think it's clearly Rage 2. And there was one more of those leaks I wanted to address, and I actually was hoping Zach would address it, is Gears 5. Zach, you don't think this is a mainline Gears title?
No, I don't. And like you guys know me, I'm a big Gears of War fan. But I don't think it's a mainline thing. There have been a lot of rumors about what the Coalition's up to. I think Coalition who, for those who don't know, are the main house that makes Gears. A lot of rumors have pointed at them working on a Project Dark, Perfect Dark reboot.
I've heard those rumors too.
And I don't think they're going to mainline it, but I think they're working pretty hard. But I actually think Splash Damage, who helped out significantly with Gears 4, will probably be helming this one. That's backed up by some job listings we saw from Splash Damage over the last 12 months or so. I don't expect this to be Gears 5. I don't think it'll be a mainline installment.
You think it'll have like a subtitle like Gears of War, whatever?
It'll
like,
be. I think that you could expect
or...
it to be similar to Judgment. And this is I don't have much more information than that. I wouldn't expect a mainline installment within 2 years. I think you're going to see similar assets being reused, a smaller scale title. Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll see.
Did anybody notice, and this will be the last question I ask about it, did anybody notice any glaring omissions from this league?
Oh, we didn't talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake for being for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Yeah, it was listed in both SKUs.
We always knew it was coming.
I mean, we just knew it was coming to PlayStation first. Yeah. So.
Yes, I felt that was kind of like, okay, like maybe Square hasn't given up on the Xbox after all.
Well, they never do on their main games.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15.
Speaking of Kingdom Hearts, we did not see Kingdom Hearts 3 on this
Never
league.
mind.
Well, that's because I don't know.
We did not see Halo. There was no Halo 6, which Halo 6 has been rumored for a while now, but there was no Halo 6.
No Crackdown.
Most of these were third-party games. Like they were very. Like, I feel like you could almost guess Microsoft because you're going to get a Forza Motorsport or a Forza Horizon. That's kind of they've kind of been rotating those two, so you could kind of guess that. And Gears is one of those titles. I feel like it's not uncommon because I used to work at GameStop when I was in college. And they would literally just throw SKUs into the system ahead of E3 because they were predicting that maybe this is going to happen and we'd have some sort of SKU for us to take reservations or pre-orders right away. So I wouldn't be surprised if you've just seen, that's why I was a little surprised when I saw the list. It was a lot of third-party games and not a lot of first-party, but then you saw the Microsoft first-party things. And I was wondering if those were placeholders or just guesses by Walmart staff knowing that E3 is coming up and these are kind of the rotational games that you see on the Xbox calendar.
So,
well, that's the thing is... Oh, go ahead.
No, Zach, please.
I was just going to say, like, you have to wonder if other devs are kind of kicking Bethesda right now because some of those, like you're saying, Reed, are kind of feel like shot-in-the-dark guesses. If Bethesda hadn't... Like, Bethesda acknowledging it positively kind of adds credence to the whole list.
The whole list being accurate, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, so I want to ask this question real quick, Zach. What do you guys think about Forza Horizons 5?
I think we'll see Horizon 4 this year. I still think they're announcing a new spin-off this year.
Do you think this is a mistake? Like, do you think the nomenclature is just wrong?
Yeah,
just the wrong number.
It's just a mistake. I do think 4 will be announced this year, and it'll come out this year.
Okay, that makes
sense.
They
better have Hot Wheels because that was my favorite expansion. My goodness, that was fun.
So good.
I don't like the Hot Wheels expansion all that much.
It's an acquired taste.
Everybody knows the best racing franchise is the Mario Kart series. So
it's not a fucking racing game.
It's a racing game. It's a racing game, Jay.
It's like an arcade kart racing game.
No, it's a racing game. It's got carts and
the phrase racing game.
4 wheels and a track and a fucking finish line.
On 4 wheels? I thought motorcycles can race too.
They can. So it's got carts with 4 wheels and motorcycles with 2 wheels. There's a racetrack. There's a finish line. Guys, they're racing games. The kart games are Mario Kart is racing, and I
don't know. We had this debate on Twitter yesterday, and like Zach was saying that GTA 5 was in the same category as Mario Kart. So
garbage.
Which did not make sense at all. And that's when I left the conversation. I was like,
I mean, if it's not doing real-time tessellation like Gran Turismo can do, I guess it's not a racing game because that's what makes racing games is how beautiful they are.
No, Reed, don't side.
I like for my cars to look like real cars, but for them to sound like microwaves.
I want to drive cars I can never drive in real life, but pretend I have enough credits for them.
I like my race cars to be driven by short little Italian plumbers. That's the kind of racing games I like.
You don't play Donkey Kong or
gorillas. I like my cars being driven by gorillas as well. Okay. Although actually I'm a dry bones guy. When I'm playing Mario Kart, I'm a dry bones guy.
Not gonna touch that.
So anyway, we'll go ahead and I think we've covered everything we needed to cover. I'll just I'll drop a few tidbits here in chat before we leave. So we've got another guest lined up next week. Tanya DePass from I Need Diverse Games is going to be here next week. I went to a few panels of hers at PAX, and she's a really, really cool person. She had a lot of interesting things to say. So she will be here next week. Again, E3 is coming up quickly. We'll be there for the first time. So that'll be Zach, Finn, and Jay. So please look forward to that. We've got some more guests that we met at PAX coming on the show. We've got the developer of Code Vein coming on in a couple weeks. So that's going to be really cool. Please look forward to that. Jake Baldino from GameRanks is still coming on. It's just a matter of him being able to clear his schedule to get here. But I've talked with him, and I've also talked with Tom Johnson, and he will be on. Just a matter of working out a date. Reed, dude, thank you so much for joining us again, man. Dude, it was awesome to have you on, man. You really contributed to the conversation, and dude,
well, thanks for having me. And it's my favorite time of year. I've been getting to work on E3. This will be my 6th time getting to go out there, and I remember being in high school and reading about it in EGM in May, in the May and June issues. And I remember growing up with Jeff Keighley kind of being one of the journalists that was there. And now I'm actually emailing with him about some of the E3 Coliseum panels and
cool.
things we're doing, the announcements. And it's just every now and then, like when I was a hockey reporter, I never really took the moment to stop and realize, wow, you're standing in front of the Capitals locker room and Alex Ovechkin and interviewing these guys, and you're only 20-something years old. I definitely learned a life lesson from that. When I'm at E3, I always take a moment to stop and just kind of realize that I get to be part of an industry I love and a part of a big part, like a really big part of it. And I love talking about it. So I can't wait to see you guys out there at E3. I can't wait you guys to see the show we got this year.
It's going to be fantastic, man. We're really looking forward to it, dude. And I can't wait. And the rest of us, of course, myself included, will be back here at the Homestead, live streaming every one of the conferences. That's Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. And then we'll have Zach, Finn, and Jay on the ground providing feedback that they see there. Anyway, if nobody has anything else to add, this has been episode 112 of SDGC. As always, guys, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next week, and yes, Mitty, you do need to follow Reed on Twitter. Reed, why don't you throw out your can you mention your Twitter handle real quick?
So my Twitter handle is at Reed Albers, so it's just ReedSalbers, and come for the video games, stay for the hockey if you can stand it.
Oh, the Capitals. Anyway, guys.
Bolts.
Oh my God.
Wow, the Bolts.
We will.
Southeast Division rival. The old Southeast Division.
I watched my first hockey game the other day because I live in Tampa now, and I have to pretend to care or I get mobbed.
It's ironic that you moved to Florida and you're just now watching hockey.
That's where everyone goes to watch hockey, I guess.
I'm just saying. Anyway,
teams down there.
Well, we had the grass. That was cool.
All right. Everybody take care of each other in chat. We'll see you guys back here next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.